Fear the Walking Dead San Diego Comic-Con panel recap. Early Friday afternoon, AMC's Fear the Walking Dead took over Hall H at the San Diego Convention Center. The cast and producers took the stage to recap the events of the first season and tease some of the things to come when the second half of Fear's second season returns on August 21st. Below is a live recap of AMC's Fear the Walking Dead panel from San Diego Comic-Con International. For updates, refresh your browser every few minutes! Chris Hardwick takes the stage to a rousing applause from the audience. He'll be moderating the panel. He's here to moderate both Fear the Walking Dead and The Walking Dead panels. He jokes about Pokemon and reveals he is Team Mystic. It's time to introduce the mid-season teaser trailer for Fear the Walking Dead. Following the trailer, Hardwick introduces the show's writer, producers, and cast including Greg Nicotero, Robert Kirkman, David Alpert, Cliff Curtis, Mercedes Mason, and Danay Garcia. Dave Erickson starts out by describing the back half of Fear's second season. For the first time, we're going to see our characters learn how to survive in the apocalypse like they haven't before. He promises a new level of intensity and violence as the group realizes what it's going to take to survive. There's so much to Mexico. There's so much to the Baja region, Hurd says of the expanding world on Fear. We're going to be exploring, obviously you saw from the very first image, the sign Tijuana. We're going to see a lot of things you've probably never seen on television for in the midst of the zombie apocalypse. Dave Alpert explains that the group will become battle-hardened humans. Kirkman joins in and emphasizes the intentional differences between Fear and The Walking Dead. Nicotero promises a lot more walkers. The attention turns to the cast. Curtis explains that his Travis character is attached to his idea of honor and moral code, but says when we see what Travis's character is capable of, it will shock our audience. He thinks we're going to call him Badass Dad. About Chris, Curtis says he's probably just a bit ahead of the curve in terms of adapting to the apocalyptic world. He says Chris needs attention and love like any teenager. Lorenzo James-Henrie chimes in and starts with a joke but explains that Chris is just dealing with losses and adapting to the world. Dickens says that killing Celia is only the beginning of Madison's transformation. She says something overcame Madion and it is indicative of where she come from and where she going, calls Nick leaving her a slap in the face. She still thinks of Nick as needing protection but has no choice but to let him go. Frank Dillane says Nick hasn't given up on his family but he just needs to figure himself out. Alicia Debnam-Carey says the end of the world feels like a fresh start for Alicia. The tension between Madison and Alicia was their pre-apocalypse. With Nick gone, she'll finally get the attention she wanted from Madison. In the coming episodes, Alicia will grow into herself. Hardwick introduces a blooper reel. It turns into a music video with Colman Domingo dancing to Michael Jackson's Beat It and much more. The cast is having a blast. Back to talking, Domingo explains how the dancing came to be. He had a fun moment on set after being told to do whatever he wants after hitting a button aboard the Abigail. Abigail.Hardwick asks Strand how he has changed. Domingo says it's been a huge deconstruction. He says he is out now, alone, after having been a con man entrepreneur before the world fell apart. He says whether or not Strand actually loved Thomas is up to the audience to decide. As for Strand and Madison, Domingo and Dickens say they are realizing they need one another. Erickson starts to describe Garcia's Luciana character, while Nick is on a spiritual journey. What he finds on his trip to Tijuana is a neighborhood outside of the city who have a similar belief system to Celia's. They see the dead as the next step, and Luciana is a badass soldier in this group. Nick and Luciana will form a bond. Garcia chimes in. She says it was amazing to join the cast. She got the job on a Wednesday and was on set in Mexico on Friday. She says Luciana will be testing Nick. Her community has rules. She explains that the Mexican culture has a unique take on death, which is why they handle it differently than we've seen elsewhere. Nick has to pass with the group's rules to fit in. Mercedes Mason gets asked about the relationship between Nick and Ophelia. She says they were bonded by being really pure. She adds, "I'm really curious to see how when Nick comes back into the frame and they've changed, maybe they realize they're going to be together or they're not going to be together." Mason says she has lost her father, so she is an orphan, which will make her crumble or get stronger. When you have nothing to lose, you have nothing to lose, so you can make some crazy fatalistic decisions, she concludes. I'd like to see her pull a little bit of a Carol. Dickens wants to explore some of Madison's past. Domingo wants to see more of Strand's compassion and see him lift up humanity but also find a real weapon at some point. A fan asks who the cast and crew who they think Negan killed, but no one will answer. It results in a bunch of laughs, though. Questions continue from fans until the panel concludes.